Hi everybody, welcome to SSU Football. I'm here live and direct on YouTube, Twitch and Kick. We were just finished watching Qatar versus Switzerland and I wanted to do this video before the World Cup started, but I had no time. And today I'm going to review all the matches from round 1 to see and to tell you what the matches I'm more excited for and the matches that probably are not going to be so interesting. We already had the opening match of Mexico versus South Africa. We had Korea versus Czechia. We already had Canada versus Bosnia. We had USA Paraguay, and we had already just finished Qatar Switzerland. So all the round one games are all those ones that already have been played, plus Haiti Scotland, Australia Turkey, Ivory Coast, Ecuador, Germany, Curaçao, Netherlands, Japan, Sweden, Tunisia, Saudi, Uruguay, Spain, Cape Verde, Iran, New Zealand, Belgium, Egypt, France, Senegal, Iraq, Norway, Argentina, Algeria, Austria, Jordan, Ghana, Panama, England, Croatia, Portugal, Congo, and Uzbekistan, Colombia. Also, Portugal is really in the last group as well. So, before and I still remember what I thought the matches will be, so I'm going to be very honest with you. Even though we already know the results of certain games like Mexico South Africa, I expected it to be a better match than it was, Mexico South Africa, and the matches are over, so I'll do a little review. I think South Africa was too afraid and they started too defensively, and they didn't bring their best offensive players. They stayed in the bench. They came later on, and they just really weren't able to play ball. I thought it would be a more interesting match, to be honest. I thought South Africa would fight a bit better and represent better their country, but I was expecting a Mexico win, and I was expecting Mexico to do some show, and they did it. They played well, and it was very interesting. Korea, Czechia, I thought it was a very good match. I thought it would be a better match than Mexico South Africa because those teams are just closer in levels. And I expected Czechia to, like South Africa, play a bit better and be more consistent. They played better than South Africa. They got their goal from a header, which is their strongest weapons because they are tall, they're strong. But South Korea played so well. King and Lee were doing an amazing performance. They're super technical. They are very, very agile, super creative. I'm very excited for this South Korea team. But before the match started, I was expecting it to be more disputed. I think South Korea controlled the match way more, and I thought it would be one of the best matches of round one. Of course, we have some better matches here, but I think since the nature and the balance in the power of those both teams, I thought the match would be a bit better than it was. Then we had Canada Bosnia, which was a good game, and here I expected Canada to be a bit more creative and to be a bit more and to be a bit better. They did play well, they created a lot of chances. Bosnia with a defensive masterclass, super strong, they are tall, they avoided a couple of goals through, for example, Kolasinac was able to send the ball to his own bar, right? The bar of their own team to avoid the goal there. I was expecting it to, once again, Bosnia to be less defensive and be more out there playing. I thought their creative players would show better. I said that from all opening matches, I thought Canada and Bosnia would be the best match, but it wasn't. I just thought Bosnia would play a bit more with the ball and out of their own defensive area. They end up defending a lot because also they got that early goal, so it was a bit different. Canada played really well, especially in the second half with the subs coming in. Eustáquio from Porto, I think, played really well, and I thought it was a good game. Then we had, I think, the best game so far, USA Paraguay 4-1. I expected that game also to be a bit better than it was. I expected Paraguay to fight harder. It's true that conceded an own goal at 7 minutes, and I think that perturbed their confidence levels for sure. But I was expecting a bit more from them as well. Before the match started, I expected USA to struggle more versus Paraguay, but they played really well. They explored a lot of spaces in between the midfield and the defense of Paraguay, spaces in the channel. The players were playing well, a lot of movementations back and forth. Really good from USA. Now we need to see them versus Turkey. That's going to be the real test. And then we just had Qatar Switzerland, which I expected to be a bad match. The first half was really good, Switzerland with 15 shots in total, Qatar struggling to play. But then in the second half, Switzerland got very comfortable. And right in the last seconds, Qatar scored the equalizer, and I think it's deserving because Switzerland turned Arsenal mode, they turned Aram ball, and they thought the game was under control, they thought the money was on their wallet, and it was not. Qatar improved a little bit, but they're still struggling a lot. That's why I expected this game to be one of the worst of the first round. I thought Switzerland would be way more dominating. I thought they would be way more aggressive as well. And Qatar was able to. I mean, their keeper was man of the match, in my opinion. And they were able to equalize, and that's important. Then I think we're going to have today, in 30 minutes, in 35 minutes, the best game, I think, from round one, Brazil-Morocco. Everybody but the Moroccans, but the Moroccan people are hate watching on Morocco because how the AFCON ended, how dirty they played against Senegal in and out of the pitch. Brazil, everybody loves Brazil. I love Brazil. I'm rooting for Portugal because I'm from Portugal. And my second team I'm rooting for are Brazil and Japan and Cape Verde. I really, really like Brazil. Hopefully they can bring the Brazilian magic now with a decent manager, a very good manager in Ancelotti. Hopefully he can lift because the pressure is hurting players like Vinicius. He's already told in an interview where the pressure kind of hurts him. Hopefully Ancelotti can transform the Brazil legacy from pressure into aura, into flux, like the cartoon galactic football, and hopefully Brazil can do a great showing. It's going to be a very tough match versus Morocco. Morocco also, they want to clean their image. They want to show that they can play well without being dirty. Here they can play their dirty tricks because they're not ones organizing the competition. I think this is going to be the best match of round one. Probably you're going to watch this video after the match ended. Totally correct. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Then we're going to have Haiti, Scotland, which I think is going to be a bit of a snooze fest. I think Scotland will control the match very easy. I think Scotland will win 2 or 3-0. I think Haiti is the weakest team together with Curaçao in this competition. I put Cape Verde a bit higher because I think they are slightly better. And I think Scotland is going to win like 5-0 unless they come in without the right mentality. I think Haiti is going to struggle a lot. I think it's going to be a bit of a boring match. Australia, Turkey, I think it's a decent match. I would like to watch it, but it's going to be at 5 a.m. my time. And I already watched Qatar, Switzerland. I'm going to watch Brazil, Morocco, and then Haiti, Scotland. And then, I wanted to watch Australia, Turkey, but I don't think I'll have the energy to do so. Maybe I'll watch in the living room instead of live. But I think it's going to be an interesting match. I think Turkey is a favorite here. Australia, they always get one win that surprises everybody, or like one match where they surprise everybody. So don't count Australia out. But I think it's going to be not super exciting. I think Turkey will control it in the end of the day. Then we have, I think this is going to be a great match. Ivory Coast, Ecuador. I think it's going to be a super cool match. I think it's going to be very, very interesting. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. But I think it's going to be one of the best matches of round one. The teams are very close to each other, very hard-working, very strong physically, and fast teams with some good technical players from Ivory Coast and Ecuador as well. Ecuador, I think it's better than Ivory Coast, and I think it's going to be an awesome match. Then Germany, Curaçao, a bit like Scotland versus Haiti. I think Germany will control. I think Curaçao will struggle, so I don't think it's going to be very interesting. Then Netherlands, Japan, I think it's going to be another banger. Japan, always a team that everybody loves. Netherlands, a team with a lot of quality, and Japan in the last World Cup, they really surprised as well versus Spain, versus Germany, and I hope they play as well or better, and I think it's going to be one of the best matches. We have Brazil-Morocco as the best match, then Netherlands-Japan, and then Ivory Coast-Ecuador. Then we have Sweden-Tunisia, which I think is going to be one of the weakest matches. I don't think it's going to be very, very interesting, but again, when the two teams are close in quality, the matches end up being better. Then we have Saudi Arabia-Uruguay, which I think it's a very interesting match. Uruguay is much better than Saudi, but Saudi beat Argentina in the last World Cup, remember that? And I think they can still do better, Their players now have way more experience, the ones that come from the Saudi League, because they're playing against top-class, world-class players. Uruguay always with that willpower, with that grit, and that aggressiveness. I think it's going to be a cool match, but I don't think it's going to be great. Then you have Spain, Cape Verde. And a lot of people are talking shit about Cape Verde, but I think they are a decent team. I think they're going to cause some problems to Spain. I think... Are we ready to see Morocco battered by Brazil? Yes, I am so ready. I think Cape Verde will cause some problems for Spain, but I think Spain will control the match easy, so I don't think it's going to be super interesting. For me personally is, because Cape Verde was a Portuguese colony, a lot of their players play or have played in Portugal, they speak Portuguese, you know what I'm saying? The captain for Cape Verde scored a penalty versus Sporting to win the Portuguese Cup for Torriense. So I think it's going to be an interesting match. Then Iran, New Zealand. Iran, New Zealand. I don't know. New Zealand is a very weak team. They have Tim Payne, now the most famous football player. You know. Yeah, good point from Serbian Mafioso. Spain don't have the same mentality like Switzerland to give the match away. Well done. Member from our Twitch community. Remember to catch me live on SSU Football on YouTube and on Twitch and Kick as also gaming. Then, so I think it's going to be one of the least interesting matches, Iran versus New Zealand. Iran, so many problems for them. New Zealand, one of the weakest teams in the tournament. I hope I'm wrong, but I think it's going to be one of the least interesting matches. Then Belgium, Egypt. I think it's going to be a snooze fest. Belgium is not as good as they were. Egypt are good, but they never really can do well at the World Cup. Hopefully I'm wrong as well. Because Belgium, Egypt has the potential to be a good game. Belgium, Egypt has the potential to be a good game. But it really depends if they want to play ball or not. Then France, Senegal, that's going to be a good game. That's going to be a really good game. Senegal, winners of the AFCON. They got the win was taken away in the courthouse. France, one of the best teams in the tournament, if not the best team in the tournament. Senegal, the second best team in Africa, because Morocco are better than them, but I think, in my opinion, they won fair and square. Senegal with classy players, I agree, Serbian, and I think France, especially with that old and kind of weak midfield, might struggle with the fast and actually good technical players from Senegal. So I think it's going to be one of the best matches of round one. Then you have Iraq, Norway. This match is going to be interesting because everybody's loving Norway. Norway is everybody's dark horse. Imagine, I'm from Portugal, right? If Portugal doesn't do well, or even if they do well, I'm still going to root for Norway, right? And everybody's on that note. If their national team is not in the World Cup, or if they're doing poorly, or even if they do well, they're going to be rooting for Norway anyway. But we still need to see them. Like, we still need to, are they really this good? With Haaland, Odegaard, with that guy from Athletic Madrid, with Oscar Bob, with Orsnish, with Sheldrup, with... I'm forgetting another player that is good for them. But are they really that good, or are we just hyping them up? Just because they're cool, because they have cool photos, because they have cool photos like the Vikings. Oscar Bob, Sorloth, exactly. That's the guy from Athletic Madrid. Sorloth, very, very powerful. So, Iraq... awesome that they are here, very historical nation, and just the whole region. I think it's going to be a good match because I don't think Norway will be super, super powerful immediately. I think Norway is going to be one of those teams that will grow into their best form. So it can be interesting, but I think Norway will dominate. So I don't think it's going to be that interesting. Then Argentina, Algeria. I think it's going to be a good game. Algeria in the AFCON, they were kind of tired, or with not a lot of motivation and confidence, but they're being very, very well welcomed by, I think in Kansas, by the Kansas small town population. They learned their national anthem, they learned the names of their players, and just a side note, people were talking shit about the World Cup and the Americans, but they're a very welcoming country. They're very welcoming, especially in those smaller areas. They are very welcoming, you know, because the states in itself are a multicultural culture. They are a multicultural country, and I think they are loving those vibes that they're receiving from the whole world. And I think Algeria might feel better here than in Africa, because in Africa they kind of hated. You know, Algeria have crazy fans. Holland played friendly against them. They were not bad. Yeah. So I think Argentina, one of the best teams in the world as well. I don't think they are as good as they were when they won the World Cup, but I think it's going to be an interesting match. Then Austria, Jordan. I like Austria. I really like Austria. I remember I rooted for them in the last Euro, but I think it's going to be one of the worst games of round one, Austria versus Jordan. I don't have much to say about this one, you know. Hopefully I'm wrong. I want every match to be good. Like I expected every match on the first days to be good because it's the first day. But I don't like Austria, Jordan, I don't know. It's going to be a bit weird. Then, Ghana, Panama. I think it's going to be a bad match as well. I mean, both teams are very close to each other, and African teams always bring the vibes and the party. Panama, I heard they are the Haram Ball of Central America. I think Ghana is going to struggle versus them. But I like Ghana. Andre Ayew, Jordan Ayew, I don't think they're playing there, but, you know, for the memories, for the vibes. And, I don't know, I think it's going to be a bad match as well. Hopefully I'm wrong. Then we have England-Croatia. Of course, it's going to be an amazing match, right? It's going to be so, so good. England-Croatia, I think, one of the best matches, at least in theory, of round one. Hopefully, Croatia doesn't park the bus. Hopefully, England can actually play well since they are missing a lot of their creative players. But I think it's going to be a banger. Portugal-Congo, it's going to be very interesting. I'm from Portugal, so that match is going to be extremely excited for me. And Congo is a good team. I watched them in AFCON. I watched them qualify for the World Cup. And they are a good team. They have a strong defense with Mbemba, with Wan-Bissaka. They have two strikers that are like not great. They are super fast. They are super strong physically. If Portugal's defense sometimes is a bit soft. And if Portugal doesn't play Renato Veiga there, if Portugal plays Gonçalo Inácio on the left, it's going to be a problem. Trust me. Or Portugal plays with two defensive midfielders, no Palhinha. So I think that's a bit of a mistake, but if Portugal doesn't cover their options, okay, those two, that front line of Congo will just clash and clash and clash, and then through crosses and corners. So Portugal needs to be very, very paying attention. I think this is the underdog match. I think this is going to be the best match that people are not expecting to be good, because Portugal is going to play very, very well, and I think Congo will be much better than people expect, especially versus Portugal. They got all the eyes on the world on them because Ronaldo is there. I think it's going to be awesome. Then we have Uzbekistan versus Colombia. I think Colombia always bringing energy, bringing good vibes, bringing dribbles and whatnot. But I think Uzbekistan is going to struggle. They have Kushanov, and they have two very good strikers as well. And it's awesome that they are here. I think maybe their fans will throw a big party if they can enter the States, right? Because many problems about that. Like the Iran team, they play the match and then they must leave the States. It's a bit weird, but I think it's going to be an interesting match. Not of the best, none of the worst. So for me, best matches of round one will be Brazil-Morocco, Ivory Coast-Ecuador, Netherlands-Japan, France-Senegal, England-Croatia, and Portugal-Congo. So far, the best match for me. So we already had Mexico-South Africa, South Korea-Czechia, Canada-Bosnia, USA-Paraguay, and Qatar-Switzerland. The best match for me was South Korea-Czechia, and then Qatar-Switzerland, because Qatar got their first point ever, and the first half was really good actually. And then of course USA-Paraguay, because it was epic, 4-1, 5 goals in one match. It was pretty cool. Let me know what are your teams that you are supporting, what are your favorite players, what you think are the best matches in this round one, and let me know what you think about Portugal. Can you win the World Cup? Can Ronaldo do it? Thank you for watching. I wish you the best thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions. Leave a like and subscribe. Catch me live on YouTube at Ezasu Football, on Twitch and Kick at Ezasu Gaming, and join my Discord at Ezasu Gaming as well. I'm gonna watch Brazil-Morocco. Hopefully you are watching as well. Hopefully it's a great game. See you soon.